Hello everyone, good evening to day 2 of our mains. I saw a lot of your messages yesterday. You guys were really interested in knowing more and more about the new cryptocurrency. I told you, even that was a trap when I told people preparing about UPSC spending 10 days on cryptocurrency. So well, it's very fascinating and interesting, but at the same time we do not have to lose focus. Okay, so yesterday we have covered origin of money. I hope you have understood it well. Try to read all those aspects that can come in exam, and at least from the point of view of your interviews, it will be very important. Okay, I just had a small announcement to make today. I think because of numerous requests from the students, we have launched SSC CGL course, but it will be paid course, unlike this one which is free on YouTube. So it will be a different platform. All those who are interested in it can look at the notification on our Facebook group. Maybe we will just pin it in the comment section here also after the session. Okay, so don't get distracted during the session. Just learn about what we are going to discuss today, which is history of banking, and then you can have a look at that. Okay, so let's quickly begin with the history of banking. I'll just move out of this slide now, and I'll like to tell you that lot of things here are controversial, not very clear. I have referred to various sources. I have seen you guys quizzing each other, and there also someone was saying ये तो मैंने विकिपीडिया से देखा है, ये गलत कैसे हो सकता है, someone is saying. So there are various sources telling a lot of things. I don't think we will be asked things on it, but still whatever available information, and to best of my understanding I have just gathered them for you. Just have a look at it. Bank of Hindustan 7070 at Kolkata. I think that time it was Calcutta, under European management, was the first bank in India. Okay. Next, I think when you look at this, Allahabad Bank, established in 1865, functioning today, is the oldest joint stock bank. The most important part here is the functioning today. So that is the oldest. There are two questions here. The purely Indian bank, the first purely Indian bank was Punjab National Bank. So for oldest Indian bank, if they ask, few people are getting the answer as Punjab National Bank, and that is why I told you it is a bit controversial. Don't get into all that. Whatever is the information I have given, you can do your own Google search on it, and find out the best answer for yourself. So and then you have this something called joint stock company. I do not know the laws at that time, and then you have private private joint stock company, and then joint stock company. So these two are different, and then they have the chronology also differs because of that. So as far as my understanding, oldest bank, there is no doubt, Bank of Hindustan 1770. The Allahabad Bank, established in 1865, still functioning today, the oldest joint stock bank in India. Again, there is another controversy other than your Punjab National Bank. People, I'll show you in the next slide when we go and learn the history of State Bank of India. First bank with limited liability management by an Indian board. Entire Indian board was commercial Audh Commercial Bank. So if this was the first entire Indian bank, then what was this first purely Indian bank? So there is some confusion, but just know their chronology and nothing else. Bank of Hindustan, followed by Allahabad Bank, followed by Audh Bank, followed by Punjab National Bank. Okay. I hope we can waste our entire day. I think I kind of wasted more than 2 hours looking for it to get a conclusive answer here, but I could not get it. Okay, so let me just move. Video is not lagging. If that is a common problem, you can let us know. I can see that it is relaying well. Okay, so let me now move to the SBI. So this will be very important for you, because you want to join State Bank of India. I think there is not much controversy here. And the one related to the earlier slide is this. So Bank of Calcutta was established in 1806, which was later renamed as Bank of Bengal in 1809. Bank of Bombay was formed in 1840. Bank of Madras, again there are two dates, 1842 and 1843. Some people are saying, and these were all Presidency Bank. When you learn about the history of the advent of, or the arrival of British in India, they came as East India Company, right? And these presidency, these were formed to govern their trade. So as and how their trade expanded, they established bank for themselves. So the first bank was in Calcutta, which was later renamed 3 years later as Bank of Bengal. Then it is in chronology, you can see 6, 40 and 42. So from top to down, this is 6, this is 40, this is 42. In 1861, they also got the right to issue currency, their own currency. After independence, we all know RBI, in fact, after 1935, which was formed by the Act of 1934, Reserve Bank of India Act, they got right to print currency for us, right? 1921, merge into Imperial Bank of India. These three were later merged and this was called Imperial Bank of India. So this is the history of State Bank of India, and now this is another controversial thing. 1955 nationalized. The moment I say SBI was nationalized in 1955, I know there will be a lot of heated discussion about it, because RBI also shows in its list 21 nationalized bank, 14 plus 6, public sector, I'll say 14 plus 6, 20, and State Bank and its group, and then Bharatiya Mahila Bank. This is 100% government owned. I don't think you can call it nationalized because there was no transfer of share. So what exactly is nationalization? I'll say nationalization, again I'll give you my logic behind it. And I think I have a Reserve Bank of Reserve Bank of India document also, which says SBI was nationalized in 1955. So I know I am safe, but I'll still give you my logic. Okay, my logic is whenever you have transfer of shares from a private entity to government, and how much this should be more than 50%, right? Then we say the given entity has been nationalized. So I think the same nationalization happened to RBI also. When RBI was formed by its Act of 1934, it was later nationalized only in 1949. Please check it. So first nationalization, if I have to strictly speak about, it was RBI, which transfer of share, government owned. It was initially formed, I'll talk about RBI also. Government of India bought all the shares, so this became completely government owned. Through RBI, it bought all the shares in State Bank of India, wherein it became nationalized in 1955. So that is the history. So nationalization. Now why it is not there in RBI's list of nationalized bank, including RBI itself, is for very simple reason. These were one or two banks which government was just planning to take over. But when nationalization in terms refers to the process wherein lot of banks were targeted and taken, the process was same, but this was a law was passed which was also called as the Nationalization Act or something. So through an act this happened which went for nationalization. Technically speaking, RBI was the first bank to be nationalized, and then followed by State Bank of India. Then State Bank of India Act came into being. Then another 5 years it was given the capacity to moderate another 6, 7 or 8 banks, etc. So these are just nomenclature issues with respect to how government wanted to take care of it, and we are just following the convention. So don't get confused here, don't get unnecessarily excited about it. Not much to debate here. So just know this history, it will be beneficial to you. Okay. Yes, so let me just move about established in 1935 with capital of 5 crore. That is the RBI history. I think I already told you 1934 Act. It was nationalized on Jan 1 1949. So all those I think the Act again would be of 1948 is my guess. I am not very sure. So if it was nationalized on Jan 1 1949, so some of you were mentioning RBI was 1948. The Act would have been passed and it was nationalized in 1949. So be careful about that when the Act is passed and when it is implemented. Okay, administration, I think it has 14 directors, central board of directors beside 4 deputy governors and 1 government official. The chairman is the board of the board and the executive of the bank. Okay, the governor is the chairman of the board and the executive of the bank. So he has the final power, is the final say. The first governor was Sir Smith C.D. Deshmukh. Please remember his name. I think this was asked in KBC if I remember correctly. First governor of RBI. Okay, this is from their website. Urjit Patel, Deputy Governors, Mundra, Mr. Mundra, Vishwanathan, Acharya ji, and Mr. Kunango. These four, again, right to information falls under coordination to work. Okay, so let me just move forward. RBI in function and monetary policy is the agenda of the next class. Okay, so I'll not touch it here. So bankers, bank to government, all the monetary policy, etc. It will be a very long class. I can tell you that we'll learn a lot of things. Okay, let's proceed to nationalization of bank. Interesting. This is what you guys were waiting for. Now, so 14 large commercial banks, the reserve of which were more than 50 crores. Okay, this is interesting. Were nationalized on 19 July 1969, and who did this was Indira Gandhi, right? If I am not wrong, I think it was under Indira Gandhi only, right? So why did this nationalization happen? You have to understand that first. Okay, so I'll that story part I'll come back and tell you. Just have a look at these 14 names that you should remember, and this is the amount that you should know. So the numbers that you need to know are 14 large bank, capital reserves of more than 50 crores, and these 14 bank. 1969 is fine. Okay. Yes, it was Indira Gandhi, right? So let me now move forward. I'll tell you a good story. It will be interesting. On April 15, 1986, more private bank बोले चलो यार तुम्हारे पास भी बहुत पैसे हो गए, अब आ जाओ, अब हमारे साथ आ जाओ. Okay. So anyone who has done well, government will say, okay, good. Now come to me. Now I own you. So these 6 were again nationalized. So 14 plus 6, these 20 banks were nationalized. Again, here the interesting part is this 200 crore. So there was 50 crore reserves in the this first nationalization, and second not technical nationalization, what was called a nationalization, if I have to put it that way. Okay, Reserve Bank of India, this is from Wikipedia. Again, this is interesting how Reserve Bank of India classifies all the banks. So this is schedule bank, very simple. RBI के book में उनके chapter में एक schedule में कुछ नहीं, उनका list, that is it. All the banks which are listed are schedule bank, that's it. So and these can be of two kind, one can be commercial and one can be cooperative. Okay, cooperative again can be urban cooperative and state cooperative. This will not get into, there are many and they are working in mostly in the rural areas, collecting, making their own fund and helping people in need. Now we come to commercial bank. Commercial bank, you will have 3 kind of say in fact 4 if I have to say. The first, foreign banks, then regional rural banks, which are the RRBs. I'll talk about it also. Public sector banks, private sector banks, private sector bank old 22, 8 new. Again I'll talk about the Narasimhan committee, and all these things will be clear. Just look at this again. State Bank of India and associate banks, total 1 plus 7, 8. This is old data. Now we all know that it has all become 1. Other nationalized bank, I think out of the 20 nationalized, 1 bank was merged. So we had 19. I think then again a couple of Bharatiya Mahila Bank etc. were again formed. So you can just look at the number, but this is the if I have to look at the broad structure, this is how RBI takes care of all the schedule bank. All schedule bank, commercial, cooperative, commercial, foreign, regional rural, public sector and private sector banks. Okay, public sector, nationalized bank and the State Bank and its group, which is now just State Bank. On what basis are they listed in schedule bank? Anyone who needs to do business or say any banking needs to obtain license, and they evidently they get on the list of schedule. There are, I think, non-schedule bank. If I have to list, these are generally the local area bank. You do not really have a choice. All major banking facilities you will have to become scheduled. You will have to come on the list of RBI, because none of these activities can go unregulated. So some local area bank and some urban cooperatives, I think 5 plus 4 local area and 5 urban cooperative banks are those which I could find under non-scheduled bank. Okay, so they will have very limited activity. Prayag, which 2 or 1 were merged? I think 19 nationalized. Just check all those figures. I think 1 was out of the 21 was definitely merged. Just check for the other. Please name them also. BMB is now merged, so that is not a problem. BMB and all the associates are already merged. Okay, from 1st of April. Now, RRB in India, this was, Narsimhan working group set up in 1975. Actually, okay, I told you I will be telling you this story about why this nationalization and all those things, right? So I'll come back here, erase it, and then come back on screen and tell you this story. Interesting story. I again liked it. Nationalized bank and public sector bank, I have already told you, State Bank, though technically nationalized, are not counted as nationalized. They are treated as public sector bank. Okay, so do not have to worry about it. They are one and the same thing in terms of operation. They are governed by RBI. It's just that when they were nationalized, the Nationalization Act etc. was not passed. So in all technicality they were nationalized. You do not, RBI lists them separately. That's it. It's nomenclature issue and nothing more than that. Okay, so do not worry about it. Okay, urban cooperative, state cooperative, just depending upon the scale of their operation. So you can just Google it, search more about it. Non-banking financial institutions are the NBFCs. We will look into it. Do not worry about it. Non-scheduled banks, I have already told you, some local area bank and some urban cooperatives not listed, not named in RBI's list. Okay. There are 5 that I could find under urban cooperative and 4 under local area bank. Okay. Okay. Now this story, the interesting part. Okay. So what happened during independence or at the time of independence when these banks were not nationalized? What was happening? In fact, after independence, I will say, all these banks were managed by the shareholders, right? There were big shareholders. They were all filthy rich guys. These shareholders had the right to choose their board of directors. The board of director in turn chose the CEO or say the MD, chairman, CEO, etc. These guys were the firefighter, day-to-day life, activity of the bank they did. They earned a profit. Now, this profit earned were reported to the board of directors and this was distributed to our shareholders. This is a normal banking facility, nothing, I am not showing anything different which is happening here. The problem with this system was all these shareholders, they were, these all board of directors were their coteries, if I am pronouncing that word right, just check it. Coteries, they were the coteries of these shareholders and they worked only on their direction. So these were rich, powerful people. This board was there in their pocket, absolutely nothing. This CEO had absolutely, no control. He was just to manage the day-to-day activity and whatever this board of director will tell, they have to do. Now these shareholders, I told you, are rich and filthy guys, right? Filthy rich, rich and filthy, filthy rich guys. They are very rich. So these are the one who will set up industries, right? And now for setting up industries, what do they want? They will need loan from investment. All this investment will come as a loan from this bank. Now just see the nexus. So this rich guys setting up their banks, in fact choosing their board of directors who directly listen to them. This board chooses the CEO of the bank and now these shareholder guys who are setting up the factories want to go and take loan. Can anyone stop them? Will there be any due diligence? Will there be any paperwork required for these guys to obtain loan? Absolutely not. All the loans that these guys will get, they will invest and then slowly you will have the concentration of wealth. So the rich will continue to get richer and the poor guys who were, putting their money, they were getting nominal 5%, 6% or maybe even less interest rate. So this is the scenario before nationalization. I hope you have understood it. Can't see your drawing, okay. That is why I am speaking also, I understand. Okay, I'll do this. I'll speak again. This is the shareholder. These are the rich guys. They open a bank. They have their joint stock company or private limited company. They open. This company will have board of directors. These board of directors will in turn choose a CEO. This is the CEO of the bank, whose shareholders are these rich guys. I hope I am saying, please listen to it carefully. And then these shareholders, the rich guys, will ultimately be, setting up the factories. For factories, what they will need? Investment. Investment will come in form of loan. Now these guys who technically own this CEO and the bank, when they go and ask for loan, can anyone say no to them? Can anyone say no to them? Okay, sorry, I'm covering the screen is what you want to say. Okay, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay, I thought, okay, I just moved out. I'm really sorry. So what I was writing was the shareholders here. These shareholders open a private limited company, which is nothing but our bank. This bank will have board of directors. This board of directors will in turn choose CEO. This CEO in turn technically reports to the same shareholders through board of directors, of course. These CEOs, when these shareholders, the rich guys, want to set up factories, they will go and ask for loan, and they want to go and ask for loans from whom? His own banda, right? So these guys have no choice but to give the loan. There will be no due diligence, no paperwork, nothing. So a lot of banks will start failing if they are not doing it. But of course, the failing of bank was not a bigger problem. Concentration of wealth was definitely a problem. So the government thought, why these guys are getting rich? We have worked harder for the independence of the country, and we need to fulfill our needs for the coming election, etc. So why can't we do it? And hence the concept of nationalization came. Okay, before that there is another story of there were roughly, okay, sorry, okay, here. So what happened once before independence, when lot of companies there, I think there was a time when we had more than 1200 to 1300 banks in our country. This is the time of 1929, 1930. And you know what happened. This is very important year. You should all always remember what this signifies is the Great Depression. Right? So this is the Great Depression. And what happened during that time, all these banks, what is their ultimate objective? They fund to all the industrial houses. And these industrial houses also, if you will see, were mostly centered in and around our ports. Why? Because it's easy to trade, as simple as that. So they were trading with Europe, the Europe was trading with US. So US had problem in paying back. Then these European traders, they had problem paying back to the Indian banks, and a lot of banks went bankrupt. Okay, bankruptcy happened because of this great economic slowdown. And hence the story behind 1935, or in fact 1934 Reserve Bank of India Act was this. So they wanted to have a regulated market. There should be regulation for forming bank. So a lot of people lost a lot of money during this period. Okay, and that is why they thought of establishing the RBI, which was later nationalized. Government owned all the share in 1934. I hope this is clear. Okay, so the first part, okay, Great Depression, RBI formed. Banks were now more robust banks were formed. These banks in 1969, Indira Gandhi feels like taking them under her hold. She says anyone having reserve of more than 50 crore, you are mine now. What was happening before, I have shown you. Technically these corporate house were running the bank, and it was their own bank, so they never had any problem getting the finances. Now this said objective for the new set of bank, again now what happened, the majority is now owned by government. So now the board will constitute of whom? All the government nominated guys. So the board now had the direct influence of government, and this will in turn same CEO. This bechara has no role change. He still continues to firefight, earn profit for everyone. Now let's say election time comes. Indira Gandhi now after 1969 she is up for the next election, and then she says Garibi hatao. And I think that happened in 1980, the second phase. But before that also, let's assume she said Garibi hatao, let's eradicate all the poverty, let us give loan to everyone at 2% interest rate. No logic, nothing. Only logic is to become the prime minister of the country again. 2%, they will not meet any any norms of their profitability. But now all loans should be given at 2%. Okay, now see, this is, you know, how things, you know, how bad become worse. This is an example of, what happened with the nationalization. Now this board mostly, now do you think these guys will actually appoint efficient CEOs? They started appointing all those guys, वो अपना चाचा भतीजा ना, all the nepotism started happening. All these, you know, board members, they started to fill their family with different position in the bank. This became more and more unprofessional. Now this board member, अब इनके relative, before जैसे industrialist, you had to be these industrialists and the owners. Now you have to know someone in the board or in government to get loans. This is what started happening. And if you are very close to them, pay them some bribe, and you know, you do not even have to repay them. So the legacy of NPA is not something which happened in last 5-10 years. Okay, this is which we have inherited right from our, you know, nationalization period. So NPAs have, you know, it was not a one day phenomenon. All this corrupt nepotism and all those practices were the root cause. They were, you know, the seeds which we see today in our, you know, banking. All the problem that current banking system is plagued with, is the genesis lies here. Okay, so this was the mother of all the problem that we have in our banking system today. So that was the story. I hope you can understand, you can imagine, stretch your imagination how bad it can, you know, and it became worse. So all that chacha bhatijawad, political connection, license raj, knowing the bureaucrats, your files will not move without paying them anything. So all this was the result of nationalization. Now what happened because of this? Okay, story continues. Now this poor, all your, you know, Tatas, Birlas and all those guys, they're, you know, and all other say upcoming businesses now found it more and more difficult to get investment. Why? Because all this investment was going to chacha bhatijas. All right, so the real professional, and of course with the intention of usurping the entire money. So they had all the intention of eating all this. Okay, now these guys, the real professional ones, they were, you know, lacking in investment. They could not produce. They suffered. No export of our country suffered. We were totally reliant for the crude oil, etc., on the import. And hence what happened, now you do not have anything to export, you have only import. So what will happen? I think you all know about this. Export minus import is what? Your net export. And if it next export becomes negative, then you have to pay through your forex reserves. So all our forex reserve depleted. I think there was a time when we hardly had a week of forex reserve left. And at that time, you know, I think it was P.V. Narasimha Rao under the, Manmohan Singh, they were given the task to restructure, etc. And I think it was, there was a committee formed. Now, please try to understand the entire picture, what happened. All these industrialists were making, you know, hay while the sun was shining on them. Then Indira Gandhi suddenly felt, no boss, it is, you know, our, it should be, we are the government, we are more powerful, we should have control over. Entire banking system gets screwed, all the real businesses get screwed. 1991 we are almost bankrupt. If you know, I do not know how many of you know, but Indira Gandhi was taking great pain by visiting. Of course it was all her created problem, was going and begging to say America to give us food grain, etc. And I think you had all the WikiLeaks, etc., wherein you know, all those ambassador, they were how rudely they were calling her a beggar with a bowl or something like that. So but okay, this was, you know, she created it. Karma, law of karma, world is round, it happened. But maybe I think their generation at least lived happily. Even till today they have enough money to fight elections. So I think she did well for herself. So this is what happened. And now our all the balance of payment crisis, and then we will read about all the committee that was formed, and how we kind of deregulated our market, how we allowed the private players to come in, how we accepted the say terms by WTO. all those things are part of it. So I hope the story part is complete. Let us now move to the nationalization. That was the story behind what happened. All those stories that you must be hearing about, the license Raj, quota, files not moving, etc. I have just given you a brief background about it. So RRB in India, I'll now just give you some brief about all the banks. This is, you can read it in detail. So RRB's first, again it was because of Narsimhan committee, Narsimhan working group, it was called 1975. RRBs were established. The paid up capital share was central government was giving 50% for it, state government 30, and the sponsoring bank was given 35. Well, who were these sponsoring banks? Were Punjab National Bank, State Bank, Syndicate Bank, United Bank of India, and United Commercial Bank. I think if I am not wrong, Prathama was the first RRB which was established, and again the aim was to increase the financial inclusion, give rural people chance to avail credit. Okay. Gannoj Rajesh says we do not want stories. So let me just clarify here. First of all, I think you have absolutely no clue about what I am teaching here. You may please leave immediately. And second thing, I am not telling you my the story of my childhood here. So if you do not even understand, I don't think you are fit to attend this lecture. Please get lost. This is how simply I can tell it to you. Let me just come here and tell. So Ganesh Rajos or whatever your name is, please get lost from here. Okay, is my I am just telling in simple words. I was not telling you my childhood stories. I am telling you stories which you need to know. Please try to understand that. I don't want to see any stupid comments like that. Okay, please mind that. Okay, so let me just move. So these are banking awareness questions, guys. It can come, and I'm quite sure in your interviews you will definitely be asked. Okay. Okay, let me just move. Now next is Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India, which we today know as famous ICICI Bank. Please understand, it was not formed as bank initially. Established in 1955, it was a public limited company to encourage and assist in industrial unit of the nation. Later it was given or converted into bank. Again we will talk about all the committee recommendation from May 3, 2002. Okay, so let me just move forward. Next, this is Small Industries Development Bank of India. Please try to understand. You will be, if I am in interview, I see you are a good candidate, I'll definitely ask you what is the difference between SBI and NABARD. Just think over it. This looks like the first question. I'll ask you, if both of them are working in the small sector or say in the rural sector, what is the basic difference between them? You need to know all this. So please Google it. Try to know, at least in interview you should be able to speak at least 5 lines on these things. Okay, so SIDBI, NABARD, Exim Bank, please try to understand the nuances, why these bodies were set up, what are their specific function. Okay. Industrial Development Bank of India, again this is there is some story here, I'll let you know. The idea was established as a development. So this is development financial institution. So you had all the financial institution, non-banking financial institution, and you had development financial institution earlier. So then because of the recommendation here, what happened was all the development financial institution were scrapped, and then currently we have only either financial institution and non-banking financial institution. So that is the history. That is why I had just left these information on this slide. Was transformed to IDBI Limited on 2004 under the Companies Act, and later to Scheduled Bank on 2004 under RBI Act. Okay. Industrial Finance Corporation, if IFCI, you need to know, please know that it was formed under the Central Banking Inquiry. Again, corporation has been converted into banking for the status of Industrial Financial Corporation India Limited. So all these, just know their name, 5 lines about all these things. Okay, let me just move to the next. Industrial Investment Bank of India Limited, IIBIL, formerly known as IRBI. Just know what are their nuances. This was Industrial Reconstruction Corporation. So this was for all the sick unit which were not able to generate profit. They were to revive those sick units. That's it. So if you know at least these 3, 4, 5 lines about them, that should be sufficient. But just think, in an interview, I know if you are a good candidate, I'll just ask you these 3, 4, simple questions. What is IIBIL? What was the previous name? The moment you give me 2, 3 lines, I am happy. I know this guy is aware. Okay. These are just, please try to Google it. There is nothing much to know. Just know five lines about all these banks. I want you to know them. Do not tell me that सर पूरी बैंकिंग की लेक्चर तो खत्म हो गई, बट ये सिडबी क्या होता है और ये व्हाट आर आरआरबीज ये तो आपने बताया नहीं. सो आई जस्ट वांट टू कवर वट एवर बैंकिंग एंड अदर फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन आर देयर इन आवर कंट्री. आई एम जस्ट गिविंग एन ओवरव्यू ऑफ इट. ओनली बैंकिंग, आई विल नॉट बी कवरिंग इंश्योरेंस एक्सेट्रा. ओके. National Housing Bank, again it is wholly owned subsidiary of RBI. Again there was an act passed wherein I think there was a committee recommendation wherein it talked about conflict of interest. If it is this will start treating NHB like its baby, right? If it is wholly owned subsidiary. That was the reason why even I think in 2006 the act was passed. I think by 2007-8 government purchased the State Bank of India share. Again people preparing for State Bank of India should read about it. State Bank of India share was purchased back from RBI by the government, so that there is no conflict of interest. When you are encouraging privatization of bank and you want more and more private players to come, the moment they come and see that there is a regulatory body called RBI and it has direct stakes in SBI, what kind of trust they will have? Okay, so to remove that conflict of interest, we have the government has purchased back the RBI's share in a State Bank. I think it was 59.74, near around 60. Just have a look at that. Okay. Extend financial assistance to eligible institution in housing sector by the way of finance and direct finance. Okay. So this was the NHB. Now non-financial companies, NBFCs, we were talking about. Again, non-financial entities comprises of NBFCs, mutual benefit companies, and this is mutual benefit financial companies and this is mutual benefit companies. इनको हिंदी में होता है निधि कंपनीज या होने वाली आपकी जो पोटेंशियल निधि कंपनीज हैं. सो इसमें क्या किया कि डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ कंपनी अफेयर्स सेज आई विल टेक केयर ऑफ दीज टू, बट RBI you continue to take care of these NBFCs. So please try to understand, even all the NBFCs are governed under chapter 3 of RBI. Please try to understand this. All these banks are governed, all NBFCs are also governed by or are under direct purview of RBI. Writing it down, why will you write it down? Just take the screenshot. We are not removing this PPT. Why are you wasting your time? Just listen to me. Just gather the information and then take the screenshots. Okay, so let me just move forward now. This is very important. So Narasimhan, I think he is the father of our modern banking. If whatever things that we see in current modern, whatever I think it was the same Narasimhan committee which also recommended for the setup of RRB. Now we'll just go through all the recommendations of Narasimhan committee, and you will see that fortunately or unfortunately, I do not know how I should tell this, all our people in the banking sector, they already knew what the problem was. 2013 Raghuram Rajan started talking about the say removing all your NPS from the book, declaring them correctly, etc. I remember 2009 to 11 when I was in IIM, one of our professors who worked in RBI very well knew about it. He taught us what these banks are doing, how they are managing their NBS, what is window dressing, etc. So that sometimes saddens me, that even though we know what the problem is, but it takes great political will and lot of effort to get out of your comfort zone and call spade a spade. We all knew our balance sheet of all our national banks were all plagued by NPAs. Hota kya tha? I'll just again tell you a story. What was happening here was कि किसी मंत्री के चाचा भतीजे ने दे टुक लोन, ऑल राइट. So some part of it will be invested, some part of it is clearly taken with an intention to swindle, all right. So this will become NPAs. Now what they do to cover up NPAs, just read all the guidelines. First 90 days, if you cannot recover the first installment, then it is termed as potential NPA. Then you have if after 180 days also you are not. So what happens is, accordingly banks, I'll tell that to you in layman terms. So what happens is, I give you a loan, all right, today I give you 100 rupees. Within 90 days I do not get even the first interest on these 100 rupees. What I'll do, I'll tell that say, okay, let me make this story interesting. I give it to Deepak this time, okay. I give 100 rupees to Deepak. I trust him, he has shown all his paperwork etc. I give it to him. 90 दिन हो गए, 90 days has already passed and he does not come back to me even the first interest quarter का. This is like 1 quarter, right? 90 days. So even the first quarter interest I have not received. Immediately in my book, what I have to do, I have to make provision. This is what all prudent banking according to all guidelines are supposed to do. So I'll make a provision कि दीपक भैया पूरे पैसे तो अब नहीं लग रहा मेरे को देगा, तो इसका 5% को मैं doubtful, I will just make it 5% of this 100 I'll take as loss in my balance, in my P&L this at this say whatever my financial year is. So I take it as contingent. I'll make a provision for it and I'll proceed. 180 दिन के बाद भी नहीं आया, then I know कि boss दीपक अब आने वाला नहीं है. So what I will do, I'll take that hit and I'll maybe apportion it whatever the banking guidelines are. Maybe after 6 months I will apportion it almost 20-25%. So these after 6 months have now become non-performing asset. This is not going to give me anything. After 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, if it still does not, all my 100 rupee now become non-performing asset. So just look at all the timelines and the portion of which it is apportionated as non-performing asset, or the the hit that the banking system takes. So just have a look at it. So this is how banking system operates in terms of NPA. अब हुआ क्या, अब let me get back to the story. All this has happened. We know from the day one, all these bankers who gave the loan, even they took some commission in between, maybe 5%, 10% cash commission. Everyone knows about it, right? सबको पता है, but चल रहा था, मतलब ठीक है, हमारा देश महान, वो चल रहा था. और मतलब there was lack of awareness, maybe the media was not active, the social media was not there, people, and they accepted it as way of life. Just see the kind of vicious circle which starts. मेरे को पता है कि मेरे को बिना 10 टका दिए मेरे को लोन पास नहीं होना. मंत्री जी के भी किसी को मेरे को कुछ ना कुछ पैसे देने, आई हैव टू गिव सम मनी देयर. 20% अगर इफ ऑफ द रिक्वायर्ड कैपिटल इफ आई हैव टू पे, मेरे को पता है कि मेरा धंधा ही नहीं चलना, तो ठीक है ये 80% लेते हैं, ट्राई करते हैं, वॉट एवर बनता बनता, अदरवाइज इट विल गो इनटू एनपीए. आई हैव ऑलरेडी फेड देम, राइट? सो माय लायबिलिटी इज गॉन. दिस इज हाउ द जेनेसिस ऑफ एनपीए इज हियर. Now I'll talk about how these guys, if you look at all the balance sheet, suddenly रघुराम राजन के बोलने से एनपीए नहीं हो गया. Please try to understand, this is a phenomena which was happening from a long period of time. Now what happens is, when Raghuram Rajan, educated, nobody can question his pedigree. Just Google Raghuram Rajan and see his education profile. DPS till 12, then IIT, then IIM, then I think Harvard. Amazing. One thing that you can't doubt about is his knowledge, is his understanding of the subject, and throughout, he I think he did from MIT, if I'm PhD from MIT if I'm not wrong, or from Harvard, maybe one of these two places. So he has devoted all his life. You can't fool this guy, right? And you do not even need to fool someone. You just needed that courage to come out and talk in say public, that boss, there is some systemic problem with our balance sheet here, we need to take a serious look at it and sort this problem out. Okay, and that is what he did. He had the courage to call spade a spade and told boss, now is the time, declare all your NPAs. तो इससे पहले क्या हो रहा था, अब रातों रात अचानक NPA 3, 7, 8% से 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 25, 26% तो नहीं होगा ना. We all understand that from 4 with 1 digit figure it suddenly moves to 2 digit figures. It would not happen. तो होता क्या था, अब मेरे को पता है कि मेरे को 90 दिन के बाद मेरे को फर्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट देना है. सो फॉर दैट व्हाट आई विल डू, आई विल अगेन एडवांस अ लोन टू दिस पर्सन and take from that advance, I will pay the interest. Now this new loan becomes, is showing as, not non-performing asset because it will still have that 90 days window. The previous one is again paid the interest for the coming 180 days. Just see how they are compounding their, problem. So नया loan दे दिया, from the new loan they are paying the interest for the back, so they are window dressing this NPA, which for all practical purpose is not coming back. They, to cover this, they have given another additional loan, which again a part of it is going into not into a useful purpose but to cover their track. So this is compounding a problem. That is how, the balance sheet ballooned with all those deficit. I hope I am able to make it clear. When you go into bank, you will understand more about it. God forbid some of you may be given the task of NPA management, but now interestingly I think they are talking about the PARA, asset rehabilitation bank. If that happens, you guys will be really lucky, trust me. So let us, so the point of telling all this story was what has happened, just give you the brief understanding of what was happening in the banking sector, and to tell you about the thing that everyone was aware of what is happening. It was just, swept below the carpet or, pushed under the carpet, but everyone was very well aware of what was happening. It took gut, political will to come out and talk about it. But of course there was no political will. Please try to understand, 1991 crisis was not a political will. वो हमारी मजबूरी हो गई थी. That is why the first set of reform came. Okay, and this guy I consider him, near God figure. Okay, Narasimham, Mr. Narasimham. Just look at this. So RBI constituted 9-member panel. I think this was done on 14th of August 1991. This was done for the BOP crisis, balance of payment crisis. Now there should be no bar on new bank. Just look at this. Is basically liberalization. I'll just kind of keep writing also what is the policy implication, and did we have any choice? We were beggars in 1991. We absolutely had no choice. WTO dictated its terms. It told भैया अपना पूरा trade खोलो, सबको आने दो, no import restrictions, no quota, no tariff, etc., or phase them down, all those things. So again this committee also said, now boss, we are already bankrupt, let us not discriminate, we should ask the private sector to open up new bank, and you have to indicate that, again वो इंदिरा गांधी वाला ने किया है, 50 करोड़ हुए आ जाओ, balance of payment, BOP is balance of payment. Okay, export minus import and all those, we will discuss it, don't worry, I'll conduct a class on that. Then we have the nationalization. Please indicate that you will not do any nationalization. Again, what is the history? The 69 and 80. Okay, everyone knows what happened here. 14 plus 620 banks were nationalized, and you have to promise to these guys that you will not treat them, there should not be any discrimination between them. Okay. Next, the banking should evolve towards a broad pattern consisting of 3 or 4 large banks. Just read this, how far sighted he was. This is 1991. Now we are in 2017. This is finally looks like it is happening now after almost 26 years. So he said all we need is big banks, all these big banks, just have 8-10 big banks who will be having doing universal banking and everywhere. Finally just have the regional rural bank in this specific area, but have 8-10 big banks doing universal banking across. All right, so that there is better utilization of our. What was the reason? I told you the story, Gautam. I told you, long story. There were people who thought it was a story. I hope you are not one of them. I gave you the entire story, what happened, how the balance of payment crisis happened. आपका export मर गया, your import continued to increase, your foreign reserves depleted, your industries were becoming, all your government owned industries were becoming sick, सारा production ठप पड़ गया, and all these things happened. Okay. So let me now move to the next set of recommendation. This is ARF. Again, this is something which you should know about. So when you read about Para Bank, all this ARF, debt tribunal, all those things you will have to read. So again, these guys, they know the problem what is there. The problem of NPA is clearly known to this guy, right? There should be asset reconstruction fund which could take over from the bank and financial a portion of bad debt. So they already know, इनको सब कुछ पता है, and they are already saying कि boss ये ऐसे बैंक में रख करके ये problem solve नहीं होने वाला है. We have to have dedicated professional asset reconstruction fund to manage these bad loans.
वो जाके तब पता चलेगा, तब चिट्ठे खुलेंगे लोगों के, एंड फ्यूचर एक्शन वुड बी टेकन. Level of discount, this all talks about, you know, the ARF, how it should be. When read about Parabank, the bad bank, which is, you know, in news, I'm 100% sure you will get at least one question. Bad bank should have at least one question, and this will be there in your interview for sure. Okay, so please read about bad bank and Parabank. The level of discount being determined, किस रेट पर खरीदेगा, अभी Parabank पर भी ये चल रहा है. What is the discount that should happen? Again, the demonetization, and there is a big story there also. Maybe I'll tell you at the end of the lecture here. Okay, so ARF standing committee with special power for recovery, and बोला कि ऐसे काम नहीं चलेगा. अगर मान लो पता चला कि वो तो मंत्री के चाचा भतीजे हैं, they are not paying, but उनके घर पे ट्रैक्टर है, they have land, they have everything, so they, एक बैंक ऑफिशियल के पास बेचारा they do not have that much power कि जाके एक मंत्री के चाचा भतीजे से कुछ उठा लें. They wanted to set up real strong tribunal who could just go and take, you know, these assets and pay back all those loans, etc. Okay, should be subscribed by public sector banks and financial institutions, and who will pay for it? This public sector bank who at first place gave the loans to these guys, and it should not come from government coffer, it should not come from the public money. Okay, the bank and financial should be authorized. Again, this one, authorization of bad debt, we all know it was all nexus. Who was interested in really recovering? Just try to understand. Public sector bank with profitable operation should be allowed to tap capital market. This is again, you know, recommendation, and I think it is happening slowly. All the banks which are you know, having say good balance sheet, they are allowed to go and take capital from the market. Again, all these recommendations from Narasimhan committee. Subscribe to such, subscriber can be mutual funds, can buy, you know, profitable public sector undertaking, the employees of the institution beside the general public. So all these can invest into it. So all the idle funds can ultimately be channeled for, you know, investment into broadening the scale of operation of these banks. Licensing should be abolished. Option of opening of branches for present should be left to the commercial judgment of the individual banks only. So no license, you know, only RBI mandated rules and nothing more than that. Okay. Phase reduction of SN. This is again an interesting story. CRR and SLR. So all those who do not know about it, I think this was in range of some 40% SLR and 15% of CRR. Just imagine what was left with these poor bankers. तो करेंगे क्या बेचारे, प्रॉफिट तो ऐसे कमा नहीं सकते हैं, तो चलो अपना ही पेट भर लेते हैं. दैट इज व्हाट दे वर डूइंग आई गेस. 45% पर व्हाट विल यू गिव, हाउ विल यू मैनेज योर ऑपरेशनल कॉस्ट, हाउ विल यू जनरेट प्रॉफिट टू cover this, you know, cost, all these 40%, all the 100% per whatever tax, of course not on the current account, all the saving account and FDs, etc., all the interest that you, will you be able to even, you know, get enough fund for it to pay back or manage your cost day to day? I just do not understand what was the rationale. What were these guys, you know, smoking or eating or thinking when they had kept these rates? Okay, I think current rates are roughly 20.5 and 4 if I am not wrong, just check it. So you see, this was again the recommendation of the Narasimhan. Computerization of bank, again in 91, you know, during 91-95 there was huge cry, you know, कि आ गया कंप्यूटर, सबकी नौकरी चली जाएगी, सबके नौकरी चले जाएंगे. I think most of you were not born, or you would be, you know, very young, so you do not, we heard it, we were you know, at that time roughly 8 to 10 years old, and we were hearing all these stories of, you know, how computer would be curse to the banking. Now you see what has actually happened. All these Narasimhan committee, that is why I respect this guy. Dual control of RBI and finance ministry, you know, they just look at this. Why this? Again, that chacha bhatijabad, right? So that, you know, RBI is given the independence, and the finance ministry means ministers and their chacha bhatijas are not controlling the bank, but it's run by professional such as RBI. Okay, and they should be also given independence. RBI representative should not be included in the management of the board of bank. Only government representative should be there in the board. So now clearly segregated. He should manage, he should regulate, RBI should regulate, and the government should manage. Clear mandate. ये आपका पैसा आप मैनेज करो, एक रेगुलेटिंग बॉडी है उसको रेगुलेट करने दो, नो इंटरफेरेंस. ओके ओके. ग्रांटिंग रिसोर्स फॉर द कंसेशनल रेट शुड बी अबॉलिश्ड. ऑल ये सब कुछ नहीं था. दिस इज अगेन चाचा भतीजा बात. ये सारा का सारा फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन जिनको यू आर गिविंग दी इंटरेस्ट से बेनिफिट, all of this money were going into their coffer, their pockets, nowhere else. That is why they said भैया ये सब interest ये सब देने के, if they are competent they will make do. Why do you have to need to give them from the taxpayer money? Should be अगर इतने efficient है, try to mobilize it from the open market, no, on competitive rate. Why do you need to get funds from the government, which is nothing but the public taxpayers money? Okay. And then finally review of the procedure, training, remuneration policies of the banks etc. were also discussed there. Again this is very important. One of the major reason जब चलो थोड़ा सा nepotism etc. reduce, then these guys were really afraid. Nobody was ready to sign any document which had greater chances or any chance of failure etc. because उनके ऊपर तुरंत विजिलेंस कमेटी बैठ जाती थी. एक लोन उसके बाद खराब हुआ, तुरंत उसके ऊपर विजिलेंस कमेटी लग गई. लेकिन जो नेता वेता के जो ये हैं उनके ऊपर कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा है. सो एवरीवन इज एंजॉयिंग. द रियल जेन्युइन गाइज, one bad loan and they are under vigilance and other investigative authority. So they made, please do not interfere with them. Okay. Need professionalizing and depoliticizing. So you can see in 1991 itself this man could see this, right, and all the people under him were clearly aware. So all these implementation slowly happened. It is still happening. And then in 1998 we again had one more round of recommendation. Again the merger, I'll just quickly run through this. This is merger of strong banks. Concept of narrow banking, please read about it. What is narrow banking? If I see you as a good candidate, I might be tempted to ask what is narrow banking. Okay, so narrow banking is nothing but there is no lending etc. You only pay nominal cash. All your lending activities happens through an intermediary. So just read about narrow banking. It is an interesting concept that was suggested. Again, 2 or 3 large should be given the international character, which is what is happening currently with the SBI. Small and local banks should be combined to state. We should basically unnecessarily do not have small banks if there is no need for them. Merge them into the bigger banks. Government micromanagement, again even 7 years later it still talks about government micromanagement and interference is not good for the autonomy and flexibility. But government तो government है, वो तो सुनना नहीं किसी का. Okay. Functions, sorry. Function of the board and management need to be reviewed. Okay. Now this talks about again board में कौन बैठा है? Government. सबसे पहले आप इंटरफेरेंस रोकिए और इसका जो बोर्ड में है ऑल दोज गाइज गवर्नमेंट के बिठाए हुए देयर परफॉर्मेंस हैज टू बी रिव्यूड. तुरंत पता चल जाएगा ना कि अपने चाचा भतीजा को इसने कितना लोन दिलवाया है एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. सो दिस इज व्हाट इनडायरेक्ट रिकमेंडेशन. नीड टू रिव्यू मिनिमम प्रिस्क्रिप्शन फॉर कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी. अगेन दिस इज Basel norm 1, 2, 3 etc. which was already started, so to meet those capital adequacy ratios etc. Okay. RBI Act, Nationalization Act, Banking Regulation Act, State Bank of India, urgent need of review. So all those, any provision which is hampering the growth of banking sector needed to be reviewed. Now this integration of NBFCs in the lending facilities should be reviewed. I think slowly non-banking financial companies are now slowly being considered to give those lending facilities. Review of recruitment, again this was concerned and not enough was done, but maybe I think the current paper quality etc. and the student quality we see, I think it is definitely improving, and we hope that your remuneration policies will also be reviewed and you will be paid more and more. Okay, so with this I think the most of the part is now over. Let me just come back on the screen again, and then we talked about the questions that can come. So I think I have given you broad understanding what money is. I have given you broad understanding of what happened in pre-independence, post-independence, during nationalization, post-nationalization, after whatever happened during the balance of payment crisis, what is the current scenario, all the banks, all the Nasimham committee recommendation etc. So you have broad framework of everything that is happening. You know the names of various financial institutes that are there, what are their specific function, just read about them. You are well equipped, you have broad understanding of banking per se. Alright, so that part is over. Now we will do that static part. उसमें जो भी कुछ लर्न करने का, आई विल जस्ट गिव यू अ क्लू. टुडे between 11 and 12 I opened, maybe I think I'll not blame you guys, I was sharp at 11. I think only 4 or 5 guys were there. Madhu was there, and I think couple of other guys were there who joined me there. I waited for 1.5 hours, nobody turned up. Maybe today I'll start a separate post. I understand if I put in the old post, nothing happens. Let us try to, the next thing on agenda is learning the bank headquarters and their CMDs, or maybe even the tagline, etc. So let's spend tonight 1 hour. Let's try to learn all the important bank and their. I'll give you a hint what I intend to do today. And okay, so let me just move out of the screen here. I hope most of the part that I intend to cover I have covered. So let me, I have kind of put it alphabetically. I have not seen whether they are updated, etc. Headquarters I am sure would not have changed. Managing directors would change. So I'll just give you some hint, how I will make my mnemonics for it. So the moment I see these many banks, and these banks, again I see these many banks, I see these banks. Okay, one thing immediately strike. This is reasoning ability, nothing more than that. I see 2 Indian at the starting of the bank, and I immediately know these both are in Chennai. So if I get a bank name which is in Chennai, which starts from Indian, it has to be, I know there are only 2 such banks, and both of them are in Chennai. Okay, now Indian Bank and Indian Overseas Bank are the 2. So the bank is Mahesh Kumar Jain. Just try to think Mahesh means Lord Shiva, wo baithe hue hain in the Indian Bank. You will not forget. You enter Indian Bank and you see Lord Shiva, Mahesh, sitting there, or any other mnemonic which you feel will help you. So that is the agenda for tonight, 11 to 12 on Facebook. We'll try to make smart. I'm sure you guys are smarter than me. You will make better mnemonics. Whatever is observation is coming, I'm just letting you know. Indian Overseas Bank, Kotis Varan. Just make something on Kotis. Moving overseas and doing some noble work there. Maybe let's see what mnemonics you guys can make. There are other simple ones. I think these are not relevant now. Hyderabad, Jaipur, etc. But even if you had to know, Hyderabad was at Hyderabad, Jaipur was at Jaipur. Karur Vyas Bank, absolutely no problem. It starts with Karur. Lakshmi Ji, and having your at the same place as Karur. So just kind of connect Lakshmi Ji with Karur, and you will be having some connection between them. Vijaya Bank, Canara, State Bank of Mysore, again is now not needed, ING. So Vijay takes a camera and he goes singing, he starts doing it and all he is doing it is in Bangalore. Make any such mnemonic, you will not forget. All it will take maybe 1.5 an hour. We'll spend time together, and we will be able to do it. Okay. CEO of Indian Bank is okay. I told you I am not very sure about. They are now CEO. There are managing directors. There, chairman, etc. So all that, let us kind of close it tonight. Okay. I am just showing this to you for just a purpose to show you how do we start finding some relationship. Again, this is interesting. The Allahabad Bank. If I have to ask one bank, I will ask Allahabad Bank in the exam, because immediately you think Allahabad Bank should be somewhere in UP at Allahabad, but it has headquarters in West Bengal. So what I can think about, and Rakesh Sethi. So there is a Seth ji who loves Allahabad ka pan. Pan is from Banaras, but he goes and eats pan, and then he is actually from Kolkata. So a Seth from Kolkata is enjoying Allahabad's pan. Think of something like that. United and UCO both start with U. Both of them are having in Kolkata. Make such mnemonics is all my request. Look at here. I can immediately see all this India. If it started with Indian, it was Chennai. But when it ends in India, it is going to Maharashtra, which is Mumbai. Dena Bank again is just one exception here. And then interesting, all your other private bank and the etc. which the Axis Bank, the ICICI Bank, Indus ID, Kotak Mahindra, Yes Bank, HDFC Bank, Development Credit Bank, they are all in Mumbai. So you can just make their cluster and then remember they are all from Mumbai. So make such mnemonics. Let us try to make it and see how quickly we can remember them. 1.5 hour tonight, and I think we will be done with. Okay, Nainital Bank, no brainer. Bharatiya Mahila Bank, again, this is an interesting question. Where can someone tell me where did it start from? Bharatiya Mahila Bank, first Bharatiya Mahila Bank, where did it start its operation from? Generally, it starts from its headquarters. I am asking you this question so you can guess that it did not start from New Delhi. सबको मुंबई पसंद है, not really. Again, the reason was because it became hub, as an trade flourished. It was the nearest port for all the ships coming from Europe and US, and it became the destination. So bank flourished around the industrial towns, and hence it became the, if you think logically, you will see why Bombay became the capital, financial capital of the country. Detail of foreign bank, just remember some of them, at least if they are in news, definitely. All the questions, I again went back and saw all the questions which were asked were in news in last 3 to 6 months for sure. Bharatiya Mahila Bank, no, they started from Mumbai. Why it started from Mumbai was it had its headquarters, in fact, till it was merged. In New Delhi, there was, I think it was in 2014, and I think there was some election in Delhi. So code of conduct did not allow for establishing a new 100% government owned bank to be started at that time. Okay, that was the reason. Interesting reason, I think. A good interview question maybe. Okay, so read more about it, and tomorrow maybe we will do this tomorrow, or maybe day after tomorrow. Tomorrow maybe Abhishek sir might like to take. Okay, I'll be taking class maybe, or tomorrow we might give you a day break, and maybe Wednesday or Friday I'll take monetary policy. I'll need some time. It'll be a long lecture. I'll see what else I can cover on the banking, and mostly we'll be done with. Okay, so try to think logically, guys. Try to all the story that I have given you, I have not given it to entertain you. I have given it to give you a framework of what was happening in our economy. It will give you a broad idea. Now when you read, you will have better understanding of it. So read a lot. Let's meet today at 11, between 11 and 12, and see if we can make those mnemonics. Okay, just a second. Okay, so Abhishek sir was telling, most of you did not understand how on Facebook group you have to join our group for sure, and there I will start a post. Okay, so we will tag some our moderators, they will in tag turn people. So look out for my post at 11 p.m. today. That is what I will tell. So just type in Samir in the group search. Between 11 to, or maybe at 10:59 or 11, I'll just post it. We will begin from there. Let's see if we can make something meaningful and try to learn as many, make mnemonics. I think Deepak has what gives me this confidence is Deepak conducted some successful 5 or 6 session on mnemonics, wherein he at least 20-30 word in each session in hour and a half, and people enjoyed it. They learned. More people, more mnemonics will be better to learn. You will be more observant than I am now. I am getting older, or you already see. You guys are fresh thinkers. You will help me do it. Okay, so let's meet between 11 and 12 at our Facebook group. We have already announced our CGL program, which is a paid program. So just if you are interested, please have a look at it. Let's meet and continue our learning at the Facebook group. Okay, with that I will just call it a day for today.